And that kind of brings me to the second reason why I started to realize like starting a podcast would be so beneficial is, yeah, it's not going to bring a whole bunch of new people in until it maybe blows up someday, 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road. But what it is, it's a great way to strengthen a relationship with your existing leads, with people who are in your community. And it really gives them another outlet or media source to get to know you, which then strengthens the bond, which helps conversions of whatever you're offering now and whatever you're offering in the future. So that's really what's amazing about it is while we have gotten pretty close to 20,000 downloads, which I think is pretty good in our first year, we have so many comments from people that are like, I listen to every single episode, or this is, I've been listening every week since, episode 24 or whatever. And that's really cool. And it is because I think it's not just teaching the next strategy. I mean, yeah, that ends up rearing its head in a lot of our episodes because, I'm a marketing nerd who always likes to go deep dive into strategy, but the stories are really, I think, what are bringing people back and add another element to the education and the entertainment that is a podcast. I think it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, 20,000 downloads. And I don't know. I mean, for the metrics for podcasting, it's really difficult to pinpoint everything that's going on with your podcast because we could have 20,000 downloads, but then on Spotify, we have so many downloads too, or so many likes, so many people following us. On Apple, we have a different type of metric, analytics. So it's really hard to pinpoint where everything's coming from. But yeah, I believe it's more than 20,000, to be honest. We have a lot of listeners that start right now, and now they're working their way down with all our archives, basically, So they're on it because if they like one episode, they're gonna like the rest, and then they just keep going, keep going. I have people in my Spanish community that they also like podcasts, right? And unfortunately, I don't have a podcast in Spanish, but some of my Spanish people, they do speak English because they live in the United States. So I always just tell them, hey, go check out my podcast. It's I'm sorry, it's not in Spanish, it's in English, but you can get so much value out of them. And they show me their notes every Thursday. They show me their notes of what they're listening, and just getting more information, because that's exactly what this is. It's just more information.
It is, and it's presented in a little bit different way. And sometimes everything you do online when you're creating content, you're going to have the negative feedback. It doesn't matter if you're creating shorts or YouTube videos or writing emails. There's always going to be people who say, well, this is crap. And every now and then we'll get an email from someone who's like, oh my God, I listened to, 55 minutes of podcasts and I, learned one thing or whatever, and everything else was a waste. And to me, that's the beauty of podcasts is because it's more conversational. We don't have a script. We don't have slides. I mean, we know how the episode we want it to go, the track we want it to take, but we don't know where we're going to go at the 39-minute mark. We don't know where we're going to be at the 39-minute mark of the interview. Or even if we're just talking, the two of us, we don't know where we're going to be at the 39-minute mark of this video, but that's how you find the real golden nuggets. That's how you find the things that really, really change your perception and your business. And it reminds me of when we were at the mastermind where we first met in person. It's like when people are giving presentations on stage, that's great. But I would think it was Dave Sharp or someone who said, when people are done with the presentations, all the speakers and the presenters and the employees and legendary market are all sitting around having a drink, smoking a cigar. Like that's where the real good stuff comes out. And that's how I see a podcast. It's like you kind of give it free reign to just see what comes out. And I've forgotten more over the last 12 years about marketing and that than most people have learned if you're just getting started. And that's not to say I'm a genius who knows it all, but that's just the way it goes. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part of blogging. But that's also, you talk about the interviews that we have and the golden nuggets that we get. I mean, I've learned so much just from hosting this podcast. That's a great reason to start a podcast. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, is for whatever reason, if you have a podcast and it's some sort of consistency, episode 1 might be hard, but by the time you get to 6, 7, and 8, like people will want to come on your podcast, and you can meet some amazing people that would cost a lot of money to get in a room with, but they just come on your podcast and you can pick their brain and ask them anything you want, right?
Yeah, especially when, you mentioned about after hours talks, let's call it that, you get me? how much information, like especially marketers, right? When they talk after hours, it's just golden nugget after golden nugget, ideas after ideas. And if somebody will just click record and then just record a conversation that marketers are just having, just how you say, late night, having a drink with a cigar, you will get so much value out of it, just by somebody just hitting record and publishing that. It's just insane how much. And it's just having a conversation, right? This is exactly why we started this podcast.